was a rumble in the jungle. Once I heard Dad was outside again counting birds, and Mama plugged in a nightlight, and I saw the queen of the world.
Welcome to the Golden Hour Birth Podcast. I am your co-host Liz, and we have Natalie here as well. And tonight's episode is part 2 of Katie from Long Island's birth story. She's going to tell us her birth story with her 3rd baby. So we will just jump right in and enjoy.
My pregnancy with Steven was really hard. And it was really weird because I love being pregnant. No matter how hard my pregnancies have been, I love being pregnant. I think it was something that I had always wanted, even when I was little. Like, I would put the baby doll in my shirt and everything. Like, I just always wanted to be pregnant and be a mom. Like, and like, you know, some kids are like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it's like, oh, I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a vet. My answer was always, I wanted to be a mom. Yeah.
Agrees.
And so for me, I loved all of my pregnancies. And there's a part of me that is a little bit sad that, like, my body just did not react well to pregnancy with the preeclampsia and everything, because I would be like not like, I would not be a Duggar person, but I would have a baseball team if I could, you know, like I would have so many more kids. It was safe for me to do. Yeah. Right? Are you the grand finale? Yeah. But my pregnancy with Steven was really difficult. It was coming off of, on the heels of the 2nd trimester loss. It was still in the middle of this pandemic. It was my best friend. At the beginning of the pandemic, she was diagnosed with cancer. And it was stage 4 terminal cancer. Like, there was no coming back from it. And we knew it. They gave her 6 months. She got almost 2 years. So it was an emotional pregnancy with Steven. It was, for so many reasons. And it was just like, it was just such a different pregnancy with him, because it was just like, I knew it was my last. I knew it was the last time I would ever get that little plus sign on a stick. It was the last time I would have a sonogram and see the little bean flickering. And it was bittersweet. And I wish I was in a better mental health state to appreciate it more. But when you are in the middle of a pandemic and you already have anxiety and depression, and your best friend is dying, and your husband's best friend had already just died, because my husband's best friend died in March of 2021. And you're managing your 2 kids at home who are also going through the pandemic, and managing my daughter in school for the first time. She started kindergarten in 2021. So she went to kindergarten in a mass, and then dealing with my best friend's death while I was 6 months pregnant, and then managing my daughter's grief from losing her aunt. Like, my son, like, Fox didn't quite, like, he gets it now, but like at the time he didn't really quite grasp it. But Harper is wise beyond her years, and even now, she still has a really hard, I mean, we both, but Nicole was my best friend for 16 years. And it was definitely bittersweet, like, knowing that there was a chance she wouldn't meet Steven. And so, like, we involved her every way we could. She picked his middle name. She did the gender review for us. And I was 6.5 months pregnant when she died. And, like, I didn't know, but her and my mom had been planning a baby shower for me involving him. And I almost missed the baby shower because of preeclampsia. I was 30 weeks, and I went to my appointment, and the doctor was like, you have to go to the hospital. So I was like, all right, like, been there, done that.
Yeah.
And my blood pressure they hooked me up to the magnesium right away, and they gave me some meds, IV meds, and my blood pressure stabilized. And then they just needed 2 more blood pressures and I was going to be able to go home. And the last blood pressure, the cuff was all twisted and it gave a super high reading. So they admitted me. So now I'm a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
I'm a stay-at-home mom, and my husband works. He works a retail job. He's a bike service manager for a major bike company, and it's just me at home with the kids. You know, like he's gone, like he was gone before, like they had to go to, like my daughter had to go to school, and he wasn't home until 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. Certain nights. So now I'm like, all right, I kept Harper home from school for the 2 days that I was in the hospital. Just thinking, I'm like, all right, I'll be home on the weekend. I was in the hospital for a week, and the only way they wanted to keep me for the next 4 weeks to make me stay there until 34 weeks to deliver him. And I signed myself out AMA because I could not. And like my OB was okay with sending me home. He was okay with sending me home. But the MFM, you not slam your face into the table. Thank you. The MFM is the one who wanted to keep me, and he can't override the MFM. So I overrided the MFM. And I was like, I'm signing myself out AMA. Like, I can't do this. I can't do this. You're telling me I have to be calm and have a calming environment and my blood pressure's high. Okay, but like you're telling me I'm away from my kids?
Yeah.
Like, who can't come and visit me because we're in a fucking pandemic.
Yeah.
Like, and they don't understand that. Like, literally, it was Wednesday night. I went in, I put my kids to bed. I said, all right, I'll see you guys in the morning. Mommy has, because it was a late night doctor's appointment. I was like, I'll see you guys in the morning, you know, or in the middle of the night when you get up to pee, whatever. And my kids woke up and I wasn't home. Mommy wasn't there. And like, we had a lot of issues with Fox after that, where like you could tell like it was a trauma for him, and that like and every time they would FaceTime me, he would be hysterical, and like that's not helping anybody. That's not helping anybody. And like my OB, like I told my doctor, I was like, listen, like I'm not an idiot. I'm not stupid. I know, like this is my 3rd rodeo with pre-E. I know what to look for. I know if I feel off, whatever. I was like, I'll come in every day. Send a home care nurse to do my blood pressure at home, whatever you need to do. I'm like, I can't stay here. I cannot stay in this hospital for a month. It's not happening. And my OB was like, listen, I can't override the MFM. You know, he's like, I can't tell you to sign yourself out AMA because there's a chance your insurance won't pay for it then. If you sign yourself out AMA, your insurance probably might not pay for it. Ow, that's rude. And I was like, I don't care. I can't not be here for my kids. Mm. So I did that, and I was at my OB's office 2 days a week for like an hour at a time for sonograms, 2 sonograms a week, biophysical profiles, checking on him, making sure he was still growing, making sure my placenta was still functioning, the whole 9 yards. I was on blood pressure medication. And I just kept saying, I'm like, all right, I'm like, so we can get to like 36 weeks, right? Like we could get to 36 weeks, you think? You know, I was like really optimistic, and they were like, no, we're scheduling you for 34 weeks, brother. Like that's it. Like that was their bottom line. They were like 34 weeks because no. And sure enough, 34 weeks, like that week, like that he came on Friday, April 1st. That was exactly 34 weeks. My last appointment with them was the Thursday. They were like, you know what? Your arteries in your uterus are starting to like, you know, decrease their output. And yeah, you're definitely having this baby tomorrow morning. I was like, okay, yeah. So that week, so when I got admitted initially to the hospital, they gave me the first round of steroid. to get his lungs going. And then the week of my C-section, I had to go to the hospital for the steroid shot and also for the COVID swab and everything like that. And they did some monitoring there when I got the steroid shots. So when he came out, they had fully prepped me. They were like, he's probably going to need a month in the NICU. He's probably going to need all of this work, all of this time in the NICU. He'll be on the CPAP for probably at least 2 to 3 weeks. Everything. Yeah. So he came out, Peanut. He was 4 pounds, 14 ounces. Yeah. Yeah. And my husband's obsession with every single pregnancy, the sonogram where you could see the hair. So I had asked the sonotech at one of my last sonograms, I'm like, does he have hair? I'm like, my husband keeps asking me and I keep forgetting. And she was like, yeah. She's like, I see a little bit. The first thing I hear out of my husband's mouth was, he's bald. There's no hair. Now I can't really see him because like the NICU team was just phenomenal. Like for the traumatic experience his birth could have been, it was legitimately my best delivery. It was my best C-section. It was my best hospital experience. It truly was. Yeah. And the NICU team was phenomenal. They cleaned him up. My husband got to cut the cord, which he didn't get to do with the other ones, with my other kids. And I got to see him really quick. Yeah. And then they whisked him right up to the NICU. He was on the CPAP. And when I had him, it was right after Will Smith slapped Chris Rock. So that's what we were talking about as I'm on the table. That's what my OBs were talking about as they're, elbow deep in my uterus.
That was already 7 months ago.
Yeah. Right. And all I kept saying was I'm like, are you guys taking my whole uterus or just my tubes? Because my whole pregnancy this time around, they were like, there's a chance we'll have to take your uterus depending on scar tissue, between the termination, the 2 C-sections, the D&E after we had the second trimester loss. They were like, we'll probably have to take the uterus. And I was like, okay, fine. I'm done with it. I'm done. Okay, take it. No more periods. Sign me up. They were like, no, we're just going to take your tubes. Your uterus is beautiful. There's hardly any scar tissue. I'm like,
thank you.
I'm like, those were some false promises you made me. And, but we were talking about the Will Smith slap. We were talking about how my OBs knew each other from even before they worked in the same practice because they both went to school in California. And they were just like, I just kept saying, I'm like, don't forget my tubes. Don't forget them. I don't want to be back here. Don't forget them. And my husband stayed with me because he wasn't allowed to go up to the NICU because of the COVID stuff. And they wheeled me into recovery and his nurse came down probably 12 hours after he was born, I would say. And she brought me a picture of him on her phone. And she showed me the name sign that they made for him in the NICU. It was the little, the nurse drew it. She drew it. It was a little giraffe with his name on it. And he was already off the seat. They gave him a medicine. I don't remember what it's called off the top of my head right now, but they gave him a medicine to open up his lungs. And it worked beautifully for him. And he was off the CPAP within that 12-hour period. And they were like, he's doing great. And you can see him as soon as you're up in maternity.
Oh.
So that was fine so I heal really well from my C-sections. And I have a very high tolerance for pain. So I just kept moving around in my bed, trying to sit up in my bed after I just had my 3rd C-section. And I popped a stitch. And I didn't know I popped a stitch. And the nurse came in to give me yeah, that's what you sound like. The nurse came in to give me my blood pressure medication. And I took my pill. And Then I got really lightheaded. So I was like, oh, I guess my blood pressure's back to normal. I don't need the pills anymore. And I passed out. And she looked at my incision and they called my doctors. I had to go back into the OR. And she had to like open me back up, clean out all the clots and everything. And I remember all of that. Like I was talking to her. I was like, I'm sorry I made you come back. Like, she's like, don't worry about it. She's like, I wasn't even home yet. And I was like, oh, good. But and then, cause like they tried doing like a new like wound healing thing with me. Like it was like not like a wound vac, but it was like something like, but my other 2 C-sections, I had been stapled, like those outer staples. And I said, I'm like, and when they told me they weren't going to do that, I was like, I don't know about this. So then she stapled me shut this time. And I got up to my maternity room probably at like midnight, I would say. They brought in the lactation consultant right away. They gave me a pump. They were like, do you want him to have formula? I said, abso-fucking-lutely. And I started pumping. With him, I produced the most milk. I mean, that does happen where each subsequent pregnancy, you make more milk. Yeah. But it still was not anything like a full supply. So I gave him what I could give him and pumped what I could pump. And he had lost that typical, couple ounces. So like when he was in the NICU, like that following day, I think he was like 4 pounds, 1 ounce. And he left the hospital at 4 pounds, 13 ounces. So almost his birth weight. And he was in the hospital in the NICU for a week.
Oh my God.
Which, I mean, they were prepping us. And I prepped the kids. I said, listen, I'm like, when mommy comes home, the baby's not going to come home with her. The baby's going to have to stay in the hospital because he's going to need some doctors. And that's the best place for him. Yeah. And it was that like since we had the time to prep them and we knew he was coming early, we could have those conversations. And then, so I came home on the Tuesday. I only had to go back and forth the Wednesday, Thursday. He came home that Friday. Awesome. And yeah, you came home that Friday. And we surprised the kids with him.
Oh.
So Fox was home, obviously, when I got home from the hospital. And he was just enamored. He was so enamored. And then he asked to hold him. And he was so excited to hold him. And so excited to show him all his toys that he almost dropped off of the couch. Oh my God. To show him. He's like, oh, my dinosaurs. And almost dropped the baby. So then when my husband went to go get Harper, I just had the baby in the bassinet, like wrapped up and everything. And she came in and I told her, I was like, when you come home from school, I want you to practice washing your hands because you're going to have to do that when the baby's home and everything, you're going to have to wash your hands right away. Get those school germs off. So I hear her and I was like, Harper, make sure you wash your hands. And then she like comes in and she sees the car seat in the middle of the living room. She's like, Mommy, why is the car seat here? And I'm like, oh, I'm like, I brought it in from the car because it's going to be like cold this weekend. Okay. The Fox now is like, Sissy, look, Sissy. Trying to tell her that the baby's home. And he's standing right next to the bassinet now. And he's like, Sissy, look. And she's still not getting it. So she looks in and she immediately goes to pick the baby up because she thought he was a doll. And then my husband and I were really, no. And then she backed up. And then she looked in and she's like, he's here? And I was like, go wash your hands. And so she got excited and started to cry a little bit and went into the kitchen. And then came right back into the living room. I'm like, did you wash your hands? And she's like, oh, no, I forgot. So she ran back in. And we have it all on video, which just makes it so much better because her face when she realized he was home was just like the sweetest thing. And I mean, if anybody was meant to be a big sister, it was Harper. Like even with Fox, she wasn't even 2 when Fox came home and she was just like in awe of him. And same thing now with Steven. She's just like in awe of every single thing he does. And it is, I never had that growing up, like, because I'm an only child.
Yeah.
And it is just the most beautiful thing to see. And she's so helpful. She's so helpful. She just wants to be another mommy, you know, and now he's here, Steven is here, and I definitely feel like our family is complete. I mean, as much as I would love to have my own baseball team, you know, my own partridge family, you know, my kids deserve a mom who is here and healthy. And like it would be very selfish of me had I not gotten my tubes out with this third C-section, because risking my life for another potential baby is not fair to my kids that I have here.
Yeah.
And but I definitely feel like he rounds our family out, and he came at a time where we really needed him. And like, not just me, but like my best friend's mom, because like my best friend was my sister. Like, we lived together. Her little brother is my little brother. Her mom is my mom. You know, like, you know, she's my kid's abuelita. That's what they call her. And like, he just really came at a time where we needed him. Like, it's not lost on me that like he came after we lost the baby. You know, like, it's one of those things. Like, it's just his pregnancy, like my pregnancy with him, and his whole journey into this world, I just feel like is so bittersweet in so many different ways. But I just think he was really like the universe knew. The universe knew I needed him, and we all needed him when we needed him. And right?
I love that for you.
Right? So I still didn't get my emerald though, because his due date was May 13th. And I still didn't get a fucking emerald. So I have 2 diamond babies and 1 aquamarine baby.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Right? You're my April Fool's baby?
Yeah.
Are you the April Fool's baby?
So sweet.
But his postpartum, like my 4th trimester with him, was probably my best one yet also. And again, super shout out to Lexapro. Because, you know, I was on Lexapro my whole pregnancy with him.
Yeah.
And I continued it postpartum. I had to stop it a little bit in the 3rd trimester just because like it's a recommended thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I saw myself spiraling, I said to my OB, I was like, you know what, can I go back on it? Like, they're like, absolutely. Like, if you feel like the risk to him was not greater than the risk of me being off of it.
Yeah.
Where, you know, like for functionality's purpose, like I had to be a functioning mom still, you know. And the doctor was like, your best friend just died.
Yeah.
And you're about to have a premature baby. Abso-fucking-lutely go back on it. Like no one is ever gonna. And he said, my OB was like, he's already gonna be in the NICU.
Yeah.
He's already gonna be in the NICU. He's like, you protect you. He's like, and I just think that's like, I really found it like an OB practice that just really was like, they care about the mom, they cared about me, and I really and I really value that with them, and I recommend them to it. I'm in the mom groups, the local mom groups. Like, no, you got to go here. I'm like, they're the best ones. I'm like, they saved me like 3 times, you know. Saved my life. But yeah, no, shout out to Lexapro, man, for this 4th trimester and everything, and even now, because I don't think I would have made it through the rest of my pregnancy and everything. Yeah.
Yes, we love medication here.
Oh yeah. Love medication. Love it. And you know, it's just like, that's one of those other things too, where it's like, they're like, oh, you know, pregnancy is supposed to be the best time of your life. For some women, it's really fucking not. For some women, it's really not. And that's okay. it's really like, I loved pregnancy. I'm a weirdo. I loved it. Every minute of it, but that I am aware I am an anomaly with that. I am very well aware. And everyone's like, you loved your pregnancy, even though like it almost killed you. Yeah, I did. I don't know why. Maybe, but I maybe it's because in my head, like I had built up so much that like it wasn't going to happen for me for like a myriad of reasons, but like maybe that's why, or I'm just fucking weirdo. I don't know.
Not weird.
But yeah, but this third pregnancy, man. Well, actually, fifth pregnancy, really, but this third birth is the one that changed my body the most. And I think it changed me the most. Just like, one, knowing that it was my last, and knowing like every one of his firsts is my last first. And also knowing like every one of his firsts is our first without my best friend. And it's his first year of life is just like a bittersweet year, I guess. Like he's here and he's healthy and everything. And there's nothing in this world that I would love for him, to like know his Aunt Nicole and everything.
Yeah.
And I do think that if he wasn't here, I would be in a much more worse position.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. And I think some of my best friend's little brother and, her mom and stuff, I just think like we all needed him, right? Do we need you? Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. But this is the grand finale, baby. He's the grand finale.
Go, Steve.
I am gonna make them sure. No. Fox will be the mic drop. But Steven is definitely that, and it's Steven. He will never be Steve or Stevie or anything. He's Steven.
Is it PH or V?
PH, yeah.
Right.
PH, just like my husband's best friend's name was. And, he...
What's his middle name that Nicole picked out?
Wrangler.
Oh, cute.
Wrangler. So when we decided to have Nicole pick, because if Steven was a girl, his name was going to be Stevie Nicole. Because at first my husband asked me after, we confirmed the pregnancy and everything, he was like, can we name the baby after Steve? And I was like, of course. And he's like, so if it's a girl, we can name the baby Stephanie Nicole. And I was like, are we in 1982? Absolutely not. Stephanie Nicole. Like, no. And I was like, well, what about Stevie? Because I had been binging Schitt's Creek.
That's so.
And he was like, all right, Stevie Nicole, like the easiest name situation we ever had.
Yeah.
Like the easiest naming. So when we found out the baby was a boy, we were like, all right, well, Nicole can pick his middle name. We gave her our top 3 choices. And I said, you can pick from this or you could pick one out yourself. She's like, no. She's like, a name is forever. She's like, no. She's like, I will pick one of yours. She's like, I don't want that responsibility of picking some stupid fucking name. And I was like, it's just his middle name. She's like, no. She's like, I'm going to pick one of yours. And Tom came up with McCoy because he was some comic book.
Yeah.
Actually, no. And I came out with Wrangler because my husband's best friend, Steve, has had a bright blue Jeep Wrangler that he was like known for. And his middle initial was also a W. So I was like, oh, I'm like, that works. Mm-hmm. And it also kind of like flows with like, our fun names. Cause my kids it's Harper Jubilee, Fox Thomas. And then I'm like, Steven is such like a buttoned up name. Like he needs a little something to it. And then the other choice was Danger. And that just stems from like my husband and I's first date where like, he was like, my middle name is Danger on Facebook. And I was like, no, it's not. And he's like, yes, it is. I'm like, no, it's not. I'm like, because Danger is something I always said I wanted to give that as a middle name to one of my kids. And so that came from that. And Nicole picked Wrangler.
Hmm.
And so he is Steven Wrangler.
So,
And he's the baby with the least amount of hair. Blonde baby. He's so blonde. It's like, and when I got to see him in the NICU for the first time, I texted my husband. I said, "You said he was bald. He's not bald. He's blonde. Like, he was so blonde. He was like white." And which is funny. Like, my husband's hair is very, very dark, and I'm a strawberry blonde. And both Harper and Fox came out with like darker hair, so we were both super shocked. And he's so blonde, and he's my little blondie baby.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for new moms going through a C-section or after a loss?
As hard as it is with a pregnancy after loss, enjoy it, and don't feel guilty for enjoying it.
Yeah.
Because I had a lot of guilt of being so excited to be pregnant again, because I was like, but I'm only pregnant again because we lost a baby. And I was like, but I'm only pregnant again and it could happen again. You have to be able to say to yourself with a pregnancy after a loss, like, this is my baby and this baby is here now. Like, that's it. Like, that's really it. And just don't feel guilty for enjoying your pregnancy. Don't feel guilty about being pregnant, and don't feel guilty if you hate pregnancy. Don't feel guilty at any point during your pregnancy, because it's just going to rob you of something. Whether you love pregnancy or whether you hate being pregnant, it's going to rob you if you feel any guilt. And if you have a C-section, make sure you get one of those abdominal binders and granny panties and, like the yoga pants that fold over.
Yeah.
Those were a lifesaver. And if you have a C-section that you weren't expecting and you made all of those awesome padsicles, with the witch hazel and everything, you can still use them on your C-section incision. Just make sure, like, you have like a paper towel so you don't get like that witch hazel on your open wound. You put like a paper towel and then just put it on there, and it's an ice pack, and it'll help, and it's very helpful.
Love it.
And if you have a C-section, don't let anybody tell you took an easy way out. Don't let anybody fucking tell you didn't give birth.
Hell no.
And all birth is natural birth, because all birth is natural. That's it. Like no matter how a baby fucking comes out of you, it's a natural way, because
It's a really good way to think about it. I've never thought about it like that. But
if a baby is coming out of you, like, that's it. That's what's supposed to happen, no matter which way, But yeah.
that's awesome.
Someone once said that their C-section babies are a zipper baby, and I thought that was a great idea,
I love that.
And a C-section baby is always going to have a really beautiful round head.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
See?
Yeah. You're always going to have a really round head.
Yeah. True. Funny. I'm careful with my language when I talk about like my unmedicated births, because in the birth community, a lot of people say natural.
Yeah.
And I try to be mindful. Like, it's just, it was unmedicated. It wasn't.
That's it. And you can say, like, because like people, I feel like, have a fear of the word vaginal. Like, oh, I had a vaginal birth. Like, why are you afraid of that word? That is the correct word.
Yeah.
If you have an unmedicated vaginal birth, more fucking power to you. Because
I think C-section, like, recovery from a C-section, that's like so badass. Like, yeah.
See,
You're
and
up and walking like that day. It's incredible.
yeah. And that's what it is. Like, I remember with Steven, especially because like they had to go back in and clean me out. The maternity ward nurses were like, I can't believe how well you're moving. And I was like, well, what am I going to do? Sit? I'm like, I can feel my feet again. I'm going to stand.
Mhm.
Because also, when you have a baby in the NICU, you have to get yourself there.
Yeah.
That's one of like those caveats where like I feel like it's kind of like a way that they push the mom to like get up and moving because it's only going to help you. But especially with a C-section, do you want to take him?
Sure.
Okay. The C-section, you have to be up and moving because that's the only way you're going to heal.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds hard. But also you just had a whole fucking human cut out of you. So you could really do anything. Really do anything. And if you push a baby out, whether you have it medicated or not, you just had a whole fucking human come out of you. So walking to the NICU is like, it's easy peasy compared to, 12 hours prior to that, really. I mean, my husband, but just for anybody who is mourning the loss of like a vaginal birth or a quote unquote natural birth, like it's not the way that they show it in movies. Like, your water's not going to just break and while you're food shopping. I mean, it might, like it could, but like that's a romanticized idea of it. And I just wish that more women would tell their not perfect birth stories. And that's why like I love stuff like this, like these podcasts where it's all these different stories and different perspectives, because I know some woman is going to hear my story and be like, oh my God, that's horrifying. And I can't believe, like, after going through such a first traumatic C-section, why did she go and have 2 more? Like, because people have said that. They're like, why did you have more kids when you had such a traumatic first experience? I'm like, I don't know.
It seems like they just got more healing. Like
they really did. And like, I tell people and they were like, that's a risky game to play. And I was like, it wasn't, I'm like, I was not going to let my fear of another traumatic birth stop me from bringing another baby into this world.
Yeah.
Like having a big family was always something I wanted. I knew I wanted at least 2 kids.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was younger, I wanted 4. I wanted 2 boys and 2 girls. So everybody had a brother and everybody had a sister.
That's what I was too.
So it's like, and then it's like, okay, well, that means, 4 pregnancies. Could be less, but 4 pregnancies, 4 births, a lot of money. And we don't have that big of a house. I was like, and not to mention, you don't get to pick if you have 2 boys and 2 girls. That's not how it works. So it's one of those things where it's like, I wasn't going to let that fear stop me from having another baby. I wasn't going to let, it was kind of like, well, I'm like, I've already been through the ringer, I guess. Like my first birth was horrible, and like, it was horrible in the sense where like, but I also don't remember it.
Mm-hmm.
It's been 6.5 years. I have very, very few memory of it. The only thing I knew is that it was hard mourning that original birth plan of I'm going to go on my own. And if I go to 42 weeks, I go to 42 weeks. And that was my whole thing. And then with Fox, I was like, well, if I don't have a baby on my own by 39 weeks, you're going to go in there and get it. And when I went for Steven and to confirm my pregnancy, I was like, okay, so I'm like, how early can you schedule my C-section? 38 weeks, 39 weeks, where are we looking? Like, I was like, because Harper is also an April baby. She's towards the end of April. She's April 18th. I was so concerned about the 2 of them having the same birthday. So I was like, all right. Like 37 weeks puts him on her birthday weekend. And I was like, I just want her to have her own day. Yeah. But she loves sharing her birth month with him. She's like, we're mommy's diamond babies. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, can we not give Fox a complex about not being diamond baby? Can we not do that? But you're allowed to mourn whatever you need to mourn from a pregnancy, from a birth, breastfeeding, not breastfeeding, whatever. Don't let anybody tell you you can't. And if anybody does tell you that, you can get a shirt for your baby. You can get a onesie on Etsy made that says, "My mom doesn't want your fucking opinion." Because I did. I did that with Harper. I did that. I had that made on Etsy, and it got a lot of compliments, and it also got a lot of looks. Did have one person in mind that I made sure that I put her in it around. We'll let you try and figure that.
Yeah. We'll figure it.
And there's always that one.
Yeah.
There's always that one. And then just honor your body, no matter what it does. Honor your body. Whether you need fertility treatments, whether you seek out surrogacy, because I have friends who are going through that right now, where I've watched my friends go through several transfers and just can't get pregnant. And then I'm there feeling guilty that I got pregnant just because my husband looks at me. And, I'm so thankful for that. But also then it's like, but I had traumatic pregnancies.
Yeah.
Like I almost died having babies.
Yeah.
So it's like your pregnancy is designed for you. And one thing my doulas want me that I think I really held on to, especially with my pregnancy with Steven, was your pregnancy is just a chapter in your life, but your pregnancy is the beginning of your baby's chapter. And it's already written. So however that baby is going to be born, it's already there. It's already set, it's already there, and you're just turning the pages. And she when she said that to me, it was just that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
It's just really for me, this is just one chapter, but for my babies, this is the beginning of their story.
Yeah.
And I loved that. And I think that's something that I will always hold with me and tell any new mom, where it's especially if they're struggling with how they gave birth or what happened during their birth. And don't be afraid to ask for help with your trauma, because I think if I knew now, if I knew then what I know now about birth trauma, it is way more common than anybody thinks. And talk about it. Talk about it to whoever you can, whether it's in Facebook mom groups, or if it's to a therapist or something. Don't hold in that trauma, because it's going to eat at you.
Yeah.
It's going to eat at you, and it's going to, I know with Harper, I was in such denial that I had postpartum depression with her. I was in such denial, and it really robbed me of the first 7 months of her life.
Yeah.
And I can't get that back. I can't get back those first 7 months of my first baby's life. And I wish I wasn't as prideful, I guess, is the best. I was no, I'm fine. Got it. But now I am a huge proponent for mental health after going through all of that, where it's you don't want to talk about it because of that stigma and that shame that people give at you. And it's almost seen as a weakness, where it's oh, well, you wanted this baby and now you can't handle it. It's no, not really what I'm saying at all. I had a baby and now my brain is never going to be the same. And now there are like those actual studies that have come out of like a woman's like brain before, during, and after pregnancy, where like there's an actual physical change to their brains.
Yeah.
And I'm like, see,
Wild.
you know, I don't feel so bad now that I was fucking, you know, a bitch.
Yeah.
And it was my postpartum depression. I don't, you know.
Yeah.
But I love talking about my C-sections. And I know that's weird.
No.
But I just hope other women who have C-sections can eventually embrace them.
Yeah.
Just because it's a really unique way of being brought into this world, I think. And like, I was a C-section baby also. And I always grew up hearing my birth story because my mom's heart stopped twice on the table with me. And I was always just like, oh my God, like enough already, lady. And now I get it. Like, I get it. Where it's like, okay, my heart didn't stop twice on the table, but like there were a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, all right, well, now we've come full circle.
Yeah.
And I think it's no matter how you give birth, which way your baby comes out, zipper baby or not, I think however you get that baby in your arms is a true testament to what a mom does right from the start.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why
And
we like having such a wide variety, of birth on the podcast, because someone will connect with one story, or like I've even like connected with you on things. Yeah. And yeah. Thank you so much for coming on, and
thank you guys for having me. I'm so
vulnerable and
excited
sharing.
about this.
Yeah. That's great.
Gotta love Facebook, connecting all the way from St. Louis to Long Island.
I know.
Right? God, it's crazy. It's amazing. As much as I want to say like I hate social media because of all the drama, it really does just help connect so many different people. And I mean,
Yeah.
if it wasn't for the internet, I wouldn't have my husband. Like, we met on his favorite thing to say in our vows was like, he's like, you were the best thing I ever found on Google. And I was like, all right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thanks for being so flexible too. Yeah. Right on. Last minute. And Steven.
I have no life. I know, honestly. I have no life.
Yeah. I think that Steven was the first baby we've had on. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, now he's going to be famous.
Yes. Thank you so much again.
If people want to connect with you, are you on Instagram?
I am on Instagram. It's at Just a Mom and Her Coffee.
I love it. Awesome.
Just a Mom and Her Coffee. And it's a public, because I have my private page and everything, because I try not to like expose my kids too much.
Yeah.
Just to respect their privacy. But that is my public page. I do a lot of stories on that one where I rant in my minivan, and I
love it.
my minivan morning. But it's really to jumpstart, something that like I just want to like, I want to make it a space where it's like you can just come and chat with your mom friend, just a mom and her coffee. That's it. Like
I love it. That's awesome.
That's it. Just come hang out. Let's shoot the shit. Let's just talk about whatever. I don't care. Let me know. And because I'm a stay-at-home mom, sometimes it's lonely. Sometimes it's lonely, and it's what I always wanted. Don't get me wrong. But especially 2 years in a pandemic as a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
It was
You're doing amazing.
A lot.
No, it was a lot. And I mean, I know it was a lot for all parents, but we were like already coming off the heels of like those winter months where stay-at-home moms hibernate as it is. And then it was like, oh, surprise.
Yeah.
No summer activities for you guys.
Parks, nothing.
No, we spent a lot of money in our backyard to make our backyard like its own playground.
Yeah.
They got a climbing dome. We have a trampoline. They got like a whole like a playground. Like they got a swirly slide, a regular slide. It's got like a rock wall on it. I think, I don't even know. And I got one of those big giant water slides that blow up. They have a bounce house, 2 nuggets. A lot of money during the pandemic for my sanity.
Yeah.
For my sanity. So, but yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And thanks so much for listening to the episode, and we'll see you next episode.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye.